If you're a person with a physical impairment or disability, I hope you know that you are not foreclosed from the dream of moving abroad. There are countries out there doing remarkable things in terms of innovation and becoming more accessibly friendly for those with physical challenges. So we're going to break down a few of those countries, how they have improved, and next steps, what the world can do to become more disability friendly. The list of countries in this video is in no particular order. It's just to give you a framework if you're considering moving abroad and you have a physical impairment and you don't know where to begin. When we measure that a country is disability friendly, we look at three main things. We look at the infrastructure of the country, the roads, the sidewalks, the public spaces, how well they accommodate for those who have physical impairments. Then we also look at inclusivity. How well does the society integrate those with impairments? Are they part of the workforce? Do they get to enjoy recreational activities and sporting events and entertainment and dining? How well the society does that. And lastly, we look at the laws and legislation. How well a country legislates and passes laws to ensure the protection of rights with those with a disability. So that's the framework to measure how well a country does in terms of being disability friendly. The countries that are doing remarkable things and becoming more and more innovative and inclusive of those with disabilities include Sweden, Germany, United States, Australia, Mexico, Japan, Canada, Denmark, France, Brazil, Dubai, Spain, Portugal, and Italy. And each of these countries are doing really innovative and remarkable things to be as inclusive as possible. So when we say infrastructure, what does infrastructure look like? Well, it looks like how they improve their public transportation system with wheelchair lifts, accessible seating, real-time announcements for those who are hearing impaired. It also looks at how well sidewalks are maintained. Do the sidewalks have cuts in it? Do they have ramps? Are there tactile paving for those who are visually impaired? Are the public buildings and facilities, do they have features like elevators or accessible bathrooms and wide doorways for those to walk through or use a wheelchair to enter and exit? This is attributed to really extensive urban planning that looks at how the city is currently and has a plan to evolve it to be more inclusive and conscientious with those with physical impairments. It has to start with really forward-thinking urban planning in order to be achieved in a city. So some of the most accessible metro stations, for instance, include Seoul's metro in South Korea, the Shanghai metro in China, and Tokyo's metro in Japan. Now, Seoul's metro is ranked probably the most accessible, friendly metro station in the world. It is clean, efficient, and it's safe. The metro has climate-controlled trains and heated seats. The metro also has screens throughout the trains to watch TV. The Shanghai metro is fully accessible for wheelchair users, and the pavements have curb cuts for wheelchairs to egress and degress, as well as those who ambulate with a device to be able to easily get onto the sidewalk or get into the street. Tokyo has tactile ground surface indicators to help visually impaired pedestrians navigate. Other noteworthy metro stations include Osaka Metro in Japan, the Istanbul Metro in Turkey, and the Kuala Lumpur Metro. United States, in terms of Washington, D.C. and San Francisco Bay Area, are really doing well in terms of accessibility. Chicago's railway station, 70% is ADA compliant. Even Boston, whose subway is older than New York, blows New York out the water. 98% of Boston's metro system is accessible. New York, I believe it's around 25 to 29%. So please take heed if you're visiting New York and you have a physical impairment and you plan on relying on the public transportation system. It's very difficult to get around. I just want to warn you. Now, we understand how infrastructure improves the quality of accessibility in a country. Now let's look at what the countries do to improve inclusivity. Inclusivity is a measure of how well the society integrates those with disabilities into the mainstream. Is there campaigns to make sure that they have accessibility to jobs, to recreational facilities, to public spaces? It involves educating the public to make sure that this demographic is not excluded from the everyday life of being able to enjoy a city or a country. That also involves social attitudes, educating the public vis-a-vis the school system, the public and private school system, to be compassionate and to take away the stigma regarding those who may have a disability. Recreational facilities and opportunities, opening up for cultural events and sports programs designed to include individuals with disabilities to allow them to integrate and engage socially. Canada has a nonprofit organization called Tangled, which is a gallery space that allows artists that have a disability to portray their artwork and do events and perform artwork, show for creative artist development, social inclusion. I mentioned hiring. Also, businesses also have to take the reins and accommodate for those who do have a disability and make sure they're inclusive. Americans with disability have around $500 billion disposable income annually to spend. So it would be prudent of a business owner to be inclusive and accommodate this demographic, because why wouldn't a person with a disability want to support a business that is conscientious and concerned that they too get to enjoy the environment? Now we can look at policy and legislation. A fish rots from its head. It's up to a country to legislate, to mandate, to ensure that the rights and accessibility of people with disabilities. It has to be a priority for a country to institute it in order for the public spaces and the private spaces to roll out a plan to be inclusive as possible. Now, nations like Sweden and Germany have implemented robust frameworks to ensure inclusivity. Sweden, for example, mandates accessibility in public buildings, transportation, and education. It passed a law in 2009 called the 2009 Act on Accessibility, requiring public facilities to remove any physical barriers for those with disabilities. Germany passed the Equal Opportunities Act, protects individuals from discrimination, ensuring their full participation in society, enforcing these policies, requiring businesses to accommodate those with disability. Mexico has made strides by adopting international conventions such as the United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, showing their commitment to this cause. And Norway passed its Anti-Discrimination Accessibility Act. As a result, the country has initiated a national project to ensure all urban and recreational areas are inviting for people with disabilities by 2025. As you can see, these countries are really moving the needle to be as inclusive as possible, but it does come from government. And that's really important. Now, in terms of accommodations and traveling with a disability, the airline industry has a long way to go to be more inclusive of those with disabilities. The airports, on the other hand, pretty much do a reasonable job to making sure the facilities are accessible for those with physical or visual impairments. I think they pretty much do a good job. However, the airplanes, on the other hand, have a long way to go. I believe that the FAA should implement some sort of plan to mandate that every single airline institutes some sort of framework for flyers, how to accommodate flyers who have impairments. I don't know what that looks like, but there needs to be some sort of troubleshooting to institute the change, because flying is so uncomfortable for a person who does not have a disability. I can only imagine how challenging it is for a person who does have a disability. So there needs to be some sort of campaign or pilot program to institute and mandate this is what the airlines have to do by 2030, or else they'll be fined. Every airline at this point should hire a disability advocate if they don't have one already. I doubt that they do, to implement changes to make sure that the airlines are more accessible friendly. Perhaps the FAA has to mandate that every airline has a disability advocate to see where the improvements need to be instituted in order to accommodate those with a disability. What this will look like, I don't know, but they need a consultant. Secondly, at a minimum, there needs to be advocacy in providing accessible rows for those who have physical impairment, because as it is, it's challenging for an able-bodied person to get into a row. There is no real, the space issue makes it virtually impossible for a wheelchair to go through the aisles. They don't even really have appropriate storage for those who use mobility devices such as wheelchairs or canes or walkers. So that too, there needs to be a space dedicated to that. Also, the aisle, more space in the aisles for a person with a disability and for the wheelchair to be able to go through the aisle. The assistance buttons, those being at the roof of the plane, do not make any sense to me. They should perhaps be near the armrest, but this is all for a row that would be dedicated for those with disability. So there would be some sort of arrangement to allow for the help features to be more accessible. What else can they do? The armrest on the aisle seat can never move, so that has to be adjusted. So there needs to be some way to adjust it so that it can be removed so that someone could get into the chair. The toilet room is extremely small. It may be ADA compliant, I'm not exactly sure, but it should be adjusted to allow a person to have a companion assist them if they need to use the restroom. There should be braille markings on the call buttons or the assistance buttons. If you're a person with a disability, please weigh in regarding how it is to travel and see other countries? Are you on the move abroad journey? Are you considering moving abroad, but you were concerned about whether or not you would have access to a country that is accommodating to your physical impairments? Please let me know in the comment section. This is a cause near and dear to me. My mother has a physical impairment, so I'm sensitive to this issue, and I'm really an advocate for disability rights and advancement. Many places lack providing accommodations to the disabled community. So this is near and dear to me. If you're a person with a disability, please let me know your input regarding traveling and the limitations and the challenges. I'm really curious to hear. And if you have any suggestions to add to my list of suggestions for the FAA or for the airlines, I would love to hear from you as well. When my mother travels, I'm her companion, so I can assist her. Also, the airports, I will say, do a really good job of providing wheelchair assistance for those who need one up until they get on the airplane. So the airplane is the issue. The airports really do a remarkable job of organizing and providing assistance. And I will say that too, if you're moving abroad, wherever there may be shortcomings in the city, because there will be, people will come to help you. You can rely on the kindness of strangers. I remember one time I was in Italy with my mom, and she was literally falling off the bus. I don't even know how that happened, and people came and like caught her and like pushed her back on. She'll never forgive me for this, but you can rely on the assistance of strangers to help you if you are in need. Please let me know your comments in the comment section. If you want to move abroad and you don't know where to begin, you can sign up for my Move Abroad course or my subscription, as well as my individual coaching package, which helps you iron out the things that you need to be thinking about if you're concerned about moving abroad. This being one of the topics we do address, and like I said, I am sensitive to this issue because I have to think about it as it relates to my family. So I can perhaps provide you some insight regarding what you need to be thinking about if you have a physical impairment. So please don't hesitate to reach out. I do not want you to feel excluded from this beautiful process as well. And if you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comment section. I will see you next time. Bye-bye.